ecoMaine really, it's industrial ecology, which is the reuse of waste materials. And industrial ecology really takes for its model nature. So this idea of consuming and decomposing and producing. And, there are a lot of communities trying to start more of these industrial ecology kind of initiatives, and one particular town in Kalundborg, Denmark, does it quite well, where at the heart of their industrial symbiosis is a power plant, and they have hot water, which is a byproduct of the process, and it's actually piped into the community of Kalundborg, and they use it for heating. It's called district heating, and then the cooling water comes back, and they use that as part of the power plant process.
They don't have like cooling towers or any of that equipment to maintain. They do it through the...
But they do have cooling towers as well, but that cooling water helps. That's part of the makeup of it.
Very cool.
And then with the air pollution control technology, if you use scrubbers, lime, and especially at this coal plant in Kalundborg, the byproduct is calcium sulfate, which is actually industrial gypsum, which is drywall. So there you have this waste, this byproduct of industrial gypsum, and it gets sent virtually across the street to Guyprock, where they manufacture drywall. And they have some other synergies with other communities. And this really captured my imagination when I first heard about it. And I have spent a lot of time in Kalundborg. I just love it. And anyway, so when I finished my PhD, which was really in industrial ecology, I was so thrilled to get this position at ecoMaine because it calls on all these areas of my background. I'm actually a geologist. And, so I'm dealing with the chemical results from any of our analyses. I worked in environmental engineering consulting, and we did landfill mitigation. We looked at a landfill. I was involved with environmental management systems. We're ISO 14001 certified, which demonstrates our environmental stewardship. Just the fact that my master's degree involved the Clean Air Act and air pollution control technology, and that's, as environmental manager, I'm very responsible for the air pollution control technology, and I just love it. I mean, I learn something new every day. I just have so much fun. It really, I couldn't have been happier. And I'm originally from Maine. I'm from Cape Elizabeth, and I'd lived overseas. I was in Peace Corps for a few years, working for the Geological Survey of Swaziland, actually. But when I first got out of college, I worked for a geochemical lab. And what I was telling an earlier group, it was that background in geochemistry that afforded me some particular positions. Like I worked for Duke University Marine Lab, performing all the geochemistry for the Oceanographic Consortium that we had. And I was working with African mud again. There were core samples that were collected from Lake Malawi and Lake Turkana. We were evaluating whether or not drought had always been around or if it was a new phenomenon. And then when I worked for Dartmouth College in the Environmental Studies program, again, I was doing all the analyses, but it was for an acid rain project. And that's what sparked my interest in the Clean Air Act, and I went on to do my master's afterwards. But having that skill with the geochemistry really opened a lot of doors for me. And then just the fact that I'm willing to do anything. Even at the power plants. I mean, I've been down in the ash pit clearing out plugged ash extractors, and I love it. I wear my hard hat, and I have a great time. And I have to say, in my career, I mean, I've worked with wonderful women, but I've always worked with men. And and in this position, they actually have to respect me. I can edit that. Because I'm the environmental manager, so it's kind of like, I come through. Oh, no. So, but they're great. Majority of these men that I work with are Maine maritime grads. And so I'm learning a lot that I guess boilers on ships, and so that makes sense that when they come off the ocean, they like to work at power plants, and they're very knowledgeable. I feel very grateful. And our general manager is just really supportive, very innovative. A lot of my work actually, last year and this year has been in Augusta, following different legislation, giving testimony, making contacts with representatives, especially our owner communities. We have about 35 different communities that bring their waste and recyclables to ecoMaine. So, we're always interested in bills and looking for their support. We recently supported a representative from Yarmouth's bill on product stewardship initiative, which is really trying to get at design for environment, kind of nudging the manufacturers to produce products that can be easily disassembled, plastics and metals. If they can't be reused or recycled, they can come to an ultimate disposal facility like our waste-to-energy plant. So it's been a lot of outreach, and it's been really interesting. I have a great time. I love it. Yeah. But one of the things I was thinking of was just the humanistic connections. To me, that's so important, those social relationships. In fact, that was my end theory in my dissertation, was that while my champions of industrial symbiosis had the technological background, what was key for both of them was developing those social relationships. And I think that really is important
within the
students.
Well,
for these individuals, they were trying to get some industrial ecology projects started, and so they just found they had to have good outreach to the different companies, and even research institutions. I had an American and a European, and they both went about it a little differently. My American worked very top down, kind of going after the top managers. My European worked very bottom up. He was a little more contextual.
Which one was more productive?
Well, they have equally had some success. Valdemar Christensen, who was Danish and had a project in Ukraine as well, he's renowned, really, for the work he did with the industrial symbiosis. Actually, he and his wife Inge coined the phrase industrial symbiosis back in 1989. And Peter Lowett, who was my champion in the States, really effective. There's a Londonderry Eco-Industrial Park just adjacent to Stonyfield, actually, and they did attract a power plant there. And they have they take the wastewater treatment plant water from the city of Manchester. It's piped in
Londonderry, New Hampshire,
and used. Yeah. It's used in their cleaning
up in Manchester.
All right, okay, yeah. It comes underneath the airport, and this was something that Peter really was involved in negotiating. And they put some strict codes and covenants on this, basically an industrial park, but only businesses can move on there that are going to adhere to the ecological covenants. So consequently, when the Londonderry sold it to these developers, they were frustrated because they wanted to just develop it, but they had to adhere to these codes and covenants, and it was really from a steering committee drawing on local community, educators, state agency people, the DEC in New Hampshire, and it's quite a good program they started there. But these things take time. Like even in Cullenborg, the industrial symbiosis kind of really started in the late 60s, and I mean, so some succeeded, some of their exchanges were more successful than some of the others.
Now, the success, does it almost always depend on if it's profitable or at least not costing?
It's a great point. I mean, what is sustainable? Yeah, a Dane will tell you that they'll only do it if they can make money on it. So definitely, that triple bottom line, I guess, the economic, the environment, and the social is pretty important. And so probably, the success is going to be gauged by if it financially can sustain itself.
So do you guys you must have like a pelletizer and then you burn it like a biomass for
No,
what do you do?
We take straight trash.
I heard you say you have the trash with the magnetic to pull up.
That's
the
at the very
metals.
end. No. The haulers come and they actually dump their trash on the tipping floor, and it's pushed into the bunker. We're a mass burn. It's different from mark and burn, which everybody else refuse to run.
So you don't pelletize it via metal?
Oh no, we burn trash. That's our fuel. And then at the end, when we have our combined ash, the fly ash with the bone ash, as it's actually going up the conveyor to dump into our truck, that's where that big magnet is.
So I used to work in the paper industry, and they used to have pelletizer with that magnetic thing.
Really?
The paper industry does an awesome job of recycling all of their. They have the lime kiln that they use.
Well, we sometimes take like short paper fiber as a cover for our landfill, because when we're looking for something that when we might want to mine or landfill for trash, we'd have to have a nice cover that would also burn.
Right.
So I know we've been getting that, but I remembered a little bit, about the green liquor, black liquor,
Absolutely,
white liquor.
yeah. It's all a cycle.
Yeah.
And if one of them gets screwed up, the mill doesn't start.
Where do you teach? Are you a teacher?
I'm a teacher. I used to work in the paper industry as an electrical engineer, and then I had my kids.
Oh.
So I said, I'm going to step aside from engineering, work in education until my kids are old enough. And V will always equal IR, so I'll go back when my kids are older.
What school are you in now?
I'm in Monmouth.
In Monmouth, and how about yourself?
Messalonsky,
It
it wasn't Miss Landscape. It was Miranda. No. What's the one in New